On this episode, ambition. Hey everybody, this is the Quarter Show, and we're talking about ambition. There's one thing I will say that I've concluded without a doubt, and I'm listening the Everything Store, book, the Jeff Bezos book. It's about Jeff Bezos. Really interesting stuff, you know. It's fascinating. The more books, I've been on a binge for the last 2 years. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks, reading a lot of books, and more than usual probably. And I was just telling my business partner today, I was saying, you know, it's fascinating, or I was telling somebody, I think it was my partner and then somebody else today, but you know, the common denominator, the common theme, so the one thing that I have noticed that will carry you through all the stops, all the barriers, all the rocky terrain and turmoil consistently is ambition. And you know, you look at Steve Jobs, and you know, in the book I'm listening to now, it's very interesting. Steve Jobs, you know, he was adopted, and you know, there's thoughts about being adopted and things like that, and wanting to prove yourself. Jeff Bezos was adopted. You know, Elon Musk had an interesting growing up. And I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you have to be adopted or have this weird thing growing up. Yeah, but it's interesting from an observation. And you look at some of these people and you think, wow, what drives them? How are they attain what they attain? And the one thing, the constant, is ambition. And I cannot underscore this enough. The difference between success and failure is ambition. And if you don't have it, you have to figure out how to muster it up and how to create it, which you can do. But I'm telling you, ambition is the thread. It's the thread that ties all of these successful people and successful people in life generally together. And you can turn it into a discipline. You can start writing down your goals. You can start looking at your wants. You know, I always say when I'm hiring people, I try and find people with high amounts of want, right? Because sometimes I'll ask people, what are your goals? They don't know. Like, what do you want? They don't know, right? I don't hire those people. I hire people that have a huge amount of wants. You know, for me, my life changes and different things like that. And you know, I have a lot of wants. I write them down in my journal. I write them down at the back of the journal. And I don't know, some of the goals, wants, some things are big, some things are small, some things are things I want to do, whether it's travel with the family or buy a boat or some other thing that's not materialistic or some donation thing or some specific attainment. It seems like my wants are just like a faucet that just keeps flowing. And people like that often do very, very well. And you have to look at yourself and say, like, what are your wants? What do you want? What are you trying to do? And what do you want more than anything else? Because you need to tap into your ambition. And ambition is the thing that, like, will drag you through. So you could not feel up to it today. You could be under the weather. Ambitious people don't get stopped by stuff like that. Ambitious people don't call it in sick. Ambitious people don't get stopped where everybody else gets stopped. Ambitious people don't doubt where everybody else doubts. They don't trip and fall and not get up and go after it again. They just win, right? And people talk about these idiotic stats about success and failure and this many businesses fail. It's not true for ambitious people. Not true. Because they just keep going. And the ambition pulls them through. And you know, I'm strongly considering, you know, writing more on this topic, but it's like, it's the common thing between success and failure, in my opinion, between the difference of very successful people. Almost every entrepreneur, almost every great salesperson, almost every great leader that you admire perhaps or look up to or whatever, it's ambition.
And if you're talking about like salespeople or people you're hiring or for any different particular area, you can look it over and you can see if you have like the stuff that a person is made of for something like ambition. You have to look over how they talk, how they act, how they treat the rest of their life. Like you really have to inspect, because people are either on a survive or a succumb, right? They're going one direction or another. And just because someone wants to survive and thrive and do good doesn't mean they're necessarily going to make it with you or make it with us or whatever. but that's the kind of material you need to, like, if you're hiring, you have to, like, don't just hire someone because they're quiet or because they can file correctly. Like, go for people that are, like Rob talks about A players and stuff like that a lot. And they don't have to be like Rob thinks, I'm a steady guy. Steady, I get numbers, I bring in, I do my job, I do a good job, and I am ambitious. But you can also get people who ride coattails and do it correctly, right? Like there's a rocket ship going and they're like, I'm on board that rocket ship. I'll bring the celery sticks and the peanut butter, right? They're like, I'll back up that. I'll support that, and I'm on board for that, right? So it's a pretty big thing, ambition, because it has to do with thrust in all the areas of life. If you find someone who's like, they seem dynamic and they're like they seem like a super go-getter, and maybe they crush a couple numbers, and then you find out that they're going out and drinking every night and like killing themselves slowly, you might take a second look and see just what's going on there, just in terms of the people you keep around and the hiring and stuff like that, because it's a lot of factors that go into, are they going to be ambitious and successful here? So
yeah, and ambition is different for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Ambition for Ben may be different than for Devin or for myself. It's different for everybody, but the fundamental note here is surround yourself and your company in ambitious people. I definitely consider Ben ambitious in your way. There's things that you want. There's things you're going after and the way you go after them. And I think of almost many people here, you have to be in tune with their ambition. You understand that if you surround yourself in ambitious people, and I'm not talking about like some kind of
get out of my way, I'm going to the top.
Yeah,
I'm taking your clients.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that.
That's gross.
But there's something they want. There's something they're relentlessly driven by. And it may not be that obvious, even sometimes to them. But ambitious people will problem solve. They'll figure things out. They'll just keep winning. And the other people will create problems. They will flounder. They will be a problem. And they will need more hand-holding. They will need other things. And
nobody's owed a job. Nobody's owed a post. No. And so that's why you do want to surround yourself with people who are like part of your team.
And again, going back to the high wants thing, but just as a fundamental thing for this show, I simply just wanted to point it out and just say, look, here's the deal. All these major books, I've read a huge amount of books recently, and a huge amount to most standards anyway. And the thing that I thought about this morning when I was driving to work, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, ambition. Ambition is the one thing that divides most of these people that have done incredible things, frankly, including myself. I'm not Jeff Bezos, but the one thing, it was interesting. I was looking up. I came across some old high school friend thing, and there was this person that was one of the smartest people I knew, and I was surprised. I'm just going to leave it at that. I just was surprised, and I realized. Here's what I'll say. Your grades, where you went to school, your degrees, what you got in math or chemistry, it means nothing. It means nothing. Because the ambitious will attain whatever they set out to attain, regardless of a grade, or regardless of a school, or regardless of a certificate, or it doesn't matter. Because the ambitious person or the ambitious people, and in fact, I came across another person who I actually went to high school with, and he's clearly following his passion. He's clearly doing something that he is ambitious on, and it looks like he's doing incredibly well at it. And I was impressed because he wasn't particularly excellent at school or anything like that. And there's symbols throughout your life, and you start looking at it, and you're like, it's true. The only thing that freaking matters is ambition. And the ambitious will succeed. And so you have to look at yourself and think, what is my ambition? What do I want? What am I passionate about? And how do I just drive on that line? Because I've seen example after example of people who maybe struggled in school, didn't get great grades, or grew up in the streets, or all sorts of, had terrible circumstances.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And the thing is about that is you see people who and get good grades. Go ahead and get them. Right? I didn't, but go ahead and until college. But get good grades. Go ahead and get them. But the point here is you'll see people who got great grades and end up with a super well-paying job and they're miserable. You'll see all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And you'll also see stuff like this. I mean, this is something everybody knows. Some famous singer gets on stage and says, "Follow your dreams and you can do it," and then a whole big crowd comes in and goes, "Oh, they say that, but they won the lottery, and Jay-Z won the lottery, and that's why he got to where he's got. And these basketball players, it's 1 in a million." Who cares? Because maybe some skilled basketball player who's ambitious and he goes for it and he doesn't make the NBA, but he'll make something else out of his life.
Yeah, it turns into this incredibly this. They become a sports announcer and they're making millions doing that. They follow the ambition, and the basketball thing led to this networking relationship with this other thing, and next thing you know they're doing something huge and
turn on the ambition in yourself.
Turn on the ambition
and bring people around you like that.
Turn on the ambition. Follow the ambition, understand your wants, write down your wants, write down what those things are, and get after them. Get after them and just keep fanning the flames of your ambition. And it's probably gonna work out very well for you,
And if you feel you're not, then you gotta practice.
Then that's it. It's then work on it.
You're going up or down. And you got to practice on going up. This world is not designed to push you up.
No, nobody's going to do it for you.
No.
So it's one of those things where you got to work on. It's if you're not, then start looking at how can I get better at ambition, or how can I get better at
I got a journal the other day because Rob showed me his stuff. He writes all this stuff down. He has these goals and he hits these goals. So I got myself a journal, started writing stuff down. It's you got to practice at it. This isn't native to me. I don't know if it's native to too many people.
There's a whole section of self-improvement in Barnes & Noble or Amazon. That's why self-improvement exists. But
Right.
it's you need to be ambitious enough to look at that first book. You need to be ambitious enough to make a small change. You need to be ambitious enough to write down the first top 3 goals or top 3 wants that you, and then from there you expand upon it, right? But you keep fanning the flames on the ambition because that's going to take people further, and that's going to do, serve you in the long run, right? And it's the one thing that I would probably put all the eggs in.
Right.
All right. Hope that helps. Anyway, subscribe to the show if you like it. Share it on social, and of course, hit the like button. And we certainly appreciate watching. We'll have more coming at you soon.